Hi YouTube and welcome to my channel. My name is Patrick. Today we're going to talk about passwords, or specifically, what's the problem with passwords. So here's the password problem. Every website is going to get hacked eventually. It's just a fact of life. If there's a website on the public internet, it's going to get hacked one day. I mean, you can prove this by just looking at the news. With data breaches being increasingly common, this happens to every site eventually. I mean, even secure websites can be compromised by sophisticated attacks, and every password that's exposed in one of these breaches will be sold on the dark web. And here's where it gets tricky. Attackers know that people use the same password for everything, and so they use automated tools that take this leaked password and try it against various platforms. So by reusing passwords, you're increasing the risk that multiple accounts of yours are going to get compromised at the same time. And also, weak passwords are easily cracked using modern computing power. And this is serious because password leaks lead to identity theft and financial loss. This is something very serious that affects everybody in the world, and I don't think we're paying enough attention to it. And let's not forget that cybercriminals will exploit common password patterns and behaviors. So just by adding FB to the end of your password for Facebook, yeah, it's not going to make you any safer. There's no point in doing that. So what's the solution? Well, you should use a random and complex password unique to every website. You want to avoid using easily guessable information like birthdays or names, and you want to use passphrases instead of passwords. A passphrase is basically a really long string of words that you use instead of a short password. So here's what I usually recommend. I usually advise people to think of a song lyric that you remember incorrectly, something that nobody else would ever be able to guess because you remember it wrong. Take that long lyric, that long string of words, and use that instead of a password. Now, why does this work? Well, the thing about passwords is it comes down to entropy. Basically, the higher entropy of a password, the harder it is to crack. And even if you're using dictionary words, if your password is a passphrase that's very long, even though it's using dictionary words, it's still going to be harder to crack than a short password. And obviously, you should be using multi-factor authentication. If you're not using multi-factor authentication, pause this video, go set that up right now, because at this point it's the bare minimum for you to have a secure account. Alright, so that's the solution to the password problem, but there's another problem. It's called the human problem. You see, the human brain is not built to remember multiple complex passwords. Like, there's nobody on Earth who can effortlessly recall dozens of random passwords. It's just not how our brains work. And also, what we think is random often follows very predictable patterns, and people almost always pick weak or easily guessed passwords. And so remembering long and complex random passwords for every account, that's impractical. You're either going to forget your password and get locked out and have to reset it every time, or it's going to be a weak password, and that's just because of the way that our brains work. And so here's the thing, over 80% of data breaches are due to weak or reused passwords. So this is a very common problem. And of course, humans are prone to creating patterns that cybercriminals have learned to predict. So there's a conflict here, right? You should be using a long, unique password for every account to stay secure, but the conflict is that your brain can't remember all of these random passwords. And then the thing is, security demands often contradict human memory limitations. You have to balance convenience against security, and that becomes a significant challenge. And also, strict password policies often conflict with usability and user experience. And so, the more secure the password, the harder it is to remember it. There's always a trade-off between memorability and password complexity. and relying solely on human memory can compromise account security. But it's not all without hope. There is a solution to this. You can use a password manager to safely store all of your passwords. You shouldn't bother trying to remember every password yourself. You let the password manager do it, and you let the password manager generate strong, unique passwords for you. And password managers store and encrypt your passwords securely. They can automatically fill them in for you, making it convenient. You see, you'll often hear people in cybersecurity say that security and usability is a sliding scale. At one end, you have something that's really secure, and at the other end, you have something that's really easy to use. And normally, you have to slide that between those two extremes and end up somewhere in the middle. Well, a password manager is one of those rare situations where it's both easier and more secure because you're not having to type in your password every time. You're not having to remember it. All you do is you go to a website and it fills it in automatically for you. It could not be any easier than that. And also, password managers can synchronize your passwords across multiple devices. And so, instead of having to copy and paste like a KeePass database or a spreadsheet between every device you use, it's up to date and on every device that you need. And also, it reduces the risk of password reuse because if you have the password manager generate the passwords for you, then you're not going to use the same one for every website. You solve that problem. And also, some password managers will alert you if a site has been breached, so you can stay on top of those data breaches. And also, password managers allow you to share passwords when necessary. For example, my wife and I use 1Password, and we have a few accounts that we share, and we're able to share those passwords and keep them up to date for both of us automatically in a secure way thanks to 1Password. This video is not sponsored by them. It's just I use that password manager, so it's the example I'm giving. And so using a password manager enhances security while also simplifying your digital life. And again, weak passwords and reused passwords, that's the cause of most data breaches. And so unless you want your identity to be exposed, you want to lose money, you want to lose your identity, you want to ruin your credit, then you really should be doing something about your passwords. Passwords are a terrible thing. They're not a good authentication method, and thankfully they're starting to go away. But until we move into a future where passkeys are the default, then you need to start taking your passwords seriously. Anyway, my name is Patrick. Thank you for watching. If you're interested in seeing more cybersecurity content, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I try to post at least once a week. I really appreciate you watching this long, and I hope you have a great day. I'll catch you in the next one.